Thank you for taking your time to join us this afternoon. Today's discussion centers on working with American Indian and Alaska Native communities, highlighting how creative expression can support trauma healing in culturally respectful and meaningful ways. We'll explore how integrating creative approaches into trauma-informed care can strengthen connection, foster trust, and open pathways for healing. By the end of this webinar, you will leave with practical ideas to incorporate these methods into your work and community outreach. My name is Liz Best, and I am a manager of technical assistance here at NCUE. And joining me from the NCUE team are River, who will be running the slides, and Sophie, who will be monitoring the chat room. We are honored to have you all here with us today, and we kindly ask that you place your name, your organization, your tribal affiliation, and title into the chat box. Next slide, please. Oh, next slide, please. This event is made possible today by the NCUE National Urban Indian Behavioral Health Awareness Award. This event is solely the responsibility of the National Council of Urban Indian Health and does not necessarily represent the views of Indian Health Services or the Department of Health and Human Services. For those of you that are unfamiliar with NCUE, here's a little background. NCUE is a national representative advocating for the 41 urban Indian organizations contracting with the Indian Health Service under the Indian Healthcare Improvement Act. NCUE strives to improve the health of over 70% of the American Indian and Alaska Native population that lives in urban areas supported by quality healthcare centers. Next slide, please. Before we proceed, please note that this session is being recorded for educational and quality improvement purposes. The recording will also be shared after this webinar to make it accessible to those who may have missed it or who want to revisit it later. Next slide, please. Please note that your mics have been muted upon entry. We always encourage participation and engagement in today's session. We invite all the participants to turn on their camera and post questions and comments in the chat box. There will be an opportunity for Q&A at the end of the webinar. Next slide, please. Again, as we continue our webinar, we encourage active participation and value your questions and insights. To make the most of this interactive experience, here is how you can ask a question on Zoom. Just click on the chat icon, type your question, and hit enter to send it to the group. Next slide, please. Now, please help me in giving Daniel Domaguin a warm welcome as he begins his presentation. Thanks, Daniel, and take it away.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, NCUE. Naim Bagna Aldao. Good morning or day, everyone. My name is Daniel Domaguin. I am a project manager at the California Consortium for Urban Indian Health. That's me with less hair and a bigger smile. Next slide, please. So, as Liz already said, we are going to explore creative arts and how that could be used to explore and treat trauma. Next slide, please. So, we only have less than an hour, so we're not going to get really deep into creative arts. We're going to, very much skim the surface, but then hopefully we'll have time for discussion, and then we're going to do a little bit of a focus on embodied art, mostly because I can't draw or paint, I can move. So that's the kind of art that I mostly focus on when I am doing treatment. And hopefully you all will be able to find your artisticness, if you don't already have it, that you can then use in your own practice and treatment in your communities. Next slide, please. So before we get into creative arts, just a little bit about CCUE, or the California Consortium for Urban Indian Health. We represent 10 of the 41 urban Indian organizations that NCUE advocates for. Next slide, please. And those are our members up and down the state, as far as south as San Diego and as far north as Sacramento. Next slide. And the project that I specifically work on is the Tribal Medications for Addiction Treatment Project. This is state funded through the State Opioid Response Funds in California. And we mostly focus on opioid overdose prevention, substance use disorder education, naloxone distribution, and harm reduction education. Next slide, please. And some things that anyone can be invited to. Our California Indian Opioid Safety Coalition is a tri-annual-ish meeting that we have, 2 virtual, 1 in person. Those are again open, so keep a lookout on our website or our Instagrams. You're welcome to come and check out the kiosk. We have had folks from around the country and around Turtle Island come to that event to learn about best practices, emerging practices in substance use treatment and prevention and intervention across Indigenous communities. Our California Indian Harm Reduction Work Group is a small group of folks serving in California Indian country and mostly focusing on making sure that harm reduction education and theories and all of that are out in our communities. We partner with our tribal partner, California Rural Indian Health Board, on that. That way, both urban and tribal organizations and communities are getting that education. And then that last one, our tribal Met spot grants are to give our urban Indian organization members funding to work on opioid coalition building, preventing opioid overdoses, and increasing education in their communities on substance use. Next slide, please. Just a couple more on Tribal Met. We also have a community education campaign. So again, if you go to our website, this and other posters are available via PDF. You can also email or call us, and if you would like some copies of these, we're happy to mail them to you. I was on a site visit over on Wabanaki territory in Maine, and I was like, hey, that's one of our posters. So it's made its way across the country, and we wanted to make sure that Indigenous faces and voices were in the creation of these. So feel free to get these. They're out there so that our communities no longer have the overdoses that are happening. Next slide. And I am part of a wonderful team. My director of wellness and healing programs, Jackie Pearson, Anishinaabe, and Adrian Letty, who's Chamorro. They, along with me, all work together on our Tribal Met team. All right, next slide. So getting into the art. So a few disclaimers. I am not an art therapist, a music therapist, dance therapist, play therapist. Oftentimes when folks, so I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and when folks incorporate these things into their practices, they might identify in that way, but art therapy, music therapy, those are separate certifications or degrees on their own. So it's might seem like semantics, but it's just important to make that distinction. So I utilize therapeutic art, but I am not an art therapist. I utilize music in treatment, but I'm not a music therapist. So just wanted to put that out there. And regardless of what your own background is and what your work is, we can all use arts expression in our practice. So at Sakui, so I'm an LCSW, but I don't see people individually as clients through my work at Sakui, but I still incorporate art expression in my work and doing trainings in communities and doing interventions and doing my harm reduction education, because art speaks in that way that it's able to kind of bridge divides. So if you want to incorporate art and feel like it's a way that you are able to reach community members, then please do. Creative arts expression can and does address individual issues, but it also may address structural and systemic issues. So we might do art individually with a client or individually with a family member or friend. We could also do it in a group with our families, have a group project like a mural or a mosaic. So these are things that can definitely help out communities, and in doing so, it addresses the trauma that the communities might have been experiencing for generations. And one important thing with art is step outside of your comfort zone, but not your safe zone. So if you're starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable, that's totally okay. It's okay for us to push our comfort levels, but if it's starting to feel unsafe, feel free to take a step back, take a breath, and find your safety again. All right. Moving forward, next slide, thank you. So I'm gonna very briefly cover some stuff on trauma. These are things that I'm sure most of you already know. But why is it important that we understand trauma? So it's important because we know that people are coming in with different life situations. There is no appropriate one-size-fits-all modality or treatment a way of communicating with other folks, right? So we meet the people where they're at. We learn about what they are going through, what their resiliencies are, what their strengths are, what their challenges have been. And in doing that, right, we find a way to treat all of our different community members with love and compassion, even if it's a little bit different for each person. We also learn what might activate them. So if there are things that we normally do that are things that might be difficult for them because of their own experiences in the past, then we become more aware of that. Next slide. So a non-trauma informed approach would be, what's wrong with you? It's already deficit based. And that's a saying that we use a lot in the English language. What's wrong with you? What's trying to find another way to say it, but what's wrong with you works just fine. Again, already deficit based, already kind of blaming the person, already putting judgment on them, versus this trauma informed approach of what has happened to you. It's understanding that there's a reaction that might feel odd to me or to other folks, but that must mean that there's something from your past that you have experienced that is bringing about that reaction. So instead of being like, there's something wrong with you, there's a deficit about you, I'm putting judgment on you for doing this wrong, we ask, what's happened to you? What can I learn about you so that this doesn't have as much of an impact on you anymore? Next slide, please. So when folks experience traumas, it can lead to a variety of different things. It might lead to addiction, whether that be to substances, to certain behaviors. It could lead to conflict because of their interactions with other people. Interactions and communication can be difficult and can be a real challenge. And then also suicidality. So these traumas that we experience make us possibly feel hopeless, worthless. And it's important that, again, we learn about what these traumas are. So our relatives who are experiencing suicidality do live another day. And these are all things that can be addressed with creative arts expression. Next slide. So how can creative arts expression be trauma informed? And that's a question for y'all. So feel free to put in the chat, how do you feel creative arts expression can be trauma informed? And I don't know if you can unmute, but you're welcome to unmute too and say it. Thank you. Yeah, accessing emotions in a way besides speaking. Speaking can be very difficult. It's hard to say certain things, but I might be able to express it in another way, like through art. Feelings without judgment. Exactly. So side note with that, what Nicole said, when folks do create art, it's important that we as providers or community members don't put judgment on the art that is being created, but see it for what it is and allow the person who created that art to explain whether that explanation is just, hey, look at it and experience it, or they actually have a verbal explanation that they want to share. Exactly, it could be a tool used for processing. A lot of our treatment modalities, such as trauma focused CBT, utilizes or can use creative arts expression to help with processing trauma. So something that is also, again, I might not be able to talk about it, but then I can express it through my art. And then from there, I can have more understanding of it and then maybe talk about it. Many things that may not have words. Thank you. I'll read a couple more. Offer space to express one's feeling and offer a way to transform trauma. Beautiful. Create directives where one can put paint when words don't exist and always ask what it is. Don't mention what you think it is. Exactly. So thank you for that. Like another intervention, we don't want to judge artwork. We also don't want to assume that we know what it is. So asking, and that's part of the healing process and the processing, is they might draw something or dance something or sculpt something, and they don't know exactly what that is, but they know that that's what they're feeling or seeing or re-experiencing in their dissociation. So working with them to have an understanding of like, what might this be? And not putting your own ideas on that is part of their ability to process whatever is going on with them. All right, thank you all for that. Next slide, please. So what is creative arts expression? This definition from Preschool First refers to participation in a range of activities that allow for creative and imaginative expression, such as music, art, creative movement, and drama. The creative arts engage people's minds, bodies, and senses. It's important that we recognize that it engages all of these different parts of us. Art is a way for us to, we talked about processing, but it's also a way for us to kind of synthesize and integrate ourselves. Folks that have experienced trauma might feel disconnected from their bodies, from their minds, from their communities. And doing art helps with that re-engagement, re-synthesizing, reintegration. So one with ourselves as individuals, and then as we grow with our communities. And anything could be creative arts expression. If you are making a creation, whether it is permanent or semi-permanent, like a drawing or a painting or a sculpture, or here beading, or something that might just be for the moment, like dance or theater of the oppressed, which we'll talk about, or comedy improv. I do improv because I love that I can be a part of a performance and then it's it. That's it. No more. You don't see that again. So I kind of like the temporary feeling of it, like I'm able to express with a group of people and then it's gone. It feels very cleansing in that way. So any of those are things that could be seen as creative arts expression. Next slide, please. So some examples here, again, beading, and part of that integration with ourselves, right? Engaging our minds, bodies, and senses. We have to have this focus when we're doing a lot of these kinds of arts. So with beading, right, you're like counting the beads, you're picking up the needle and picking up 1 or 2 or 3, however many it is for the stitch that you're doing. And you find yourself having to regulate your breath. So it's really getting you back into your body and into that regulation. That next one is what is that? It's a torn paper art piece. So I went to an Indian Health Service conference 15 years ago, I think. And the facilitator had us create these, but we weren't allowed to use scissors. So we had to just tear the paper and then glue it on to create our pieces. The last one on the top is a participant who is painting their hand. That is a workshop called I Can, We Can, and I'll talk about where that came from later on, called The Window Between Worlds. But, as I mentioned, folks who might have experienced trauma might have this disconnection with their bodies. So painting on ourselves and having to feel that movement of the brush, the wetness of the paint, the movement of the brush in different parts of our hand is also a part of that reintegration with ourselves. The long picture on the bottom, that is Theater of the Oppressed. You're going to see a little clip of this exact workshop later on, but that's one of the forms of embodied art. And in this one, we were doing a group exercise to actually explore violence, domestic violence. So, have your interpretations as you kind of look at that picture, but that group came together to create this image of what we saw as domestic violence. And that last one is dancing. So we have our traditional dances. I'm Ilocano, we're people from the Philippines, and that's me and my Ilocano sister doing a dance in grad school many years ago when I actually had hair. But that's one of our traditional dances where we dance on top of a bench. I no longer have that balance, so I cannot do that dance anymore. But as you can see, I'm smiling because art creation brings out that joy, that happiness. Next slide, please. So this is a quote from a participant in creative arts. I'm going to give you time to read that, but I'll go ahead and read it out loud as well. Art is a safe way to express our feelings. It helps us express ourselves slowly and at our own pace. Art goes beyond words and tells our story for us. It helps us delve into our true selves and express our pains and heartaches that language does not have the ability or power to convey. Feelings that stem from trauma, violence, or abuse are often overwhelming, and words alone rarely capture or convey their true intensity. Pictures tell us far more than words can ever express. Tapping into our artistic selves and creative mind can help provide a whole world of self-discovery. Art is the best healing tool possible when we are feeling emotions that are too painful, too deep, too hidden to access, much less express. And if we could press one more time for the next part of the slide. Thank you. Just wanted to highlight those parts. When folks experience trauma, they oftentimes don't feel safe. So at the beginning with the disclaimers, we noted, feel free to feel discomfort, but if you don't feel safe, then feel free to take a step back. Art is a way for us to re-feel that safety. And it goes at our own pace. It's not something like you must create this much at this amount of time. We're not doing it like an art class. We're doing it as when we do creative arts expression in the behavioral health field, they're moving at the pace that feels appropriate for them. And us as providers, us as community helpers can help, get them to a place where they're pushing their limits in terms of their comfort while still making sure that they're safe. They might not want to do certain things because they feel like taking this out or expressing it is going to somehow cause harm. And we're there to make sure that they feel that safety, like, no, this is a safe space for you to do that. And it could be overwhelming. I have done our projects with folks and they stop in the middle of like sketching or whatever they're doing. And they're just like, this is too much to think of. It's like, okay, well, let's shrink it. Let's do something smaller. Let's start just on that upper left-hand corner of that piece of paper. And that's all you're going to focus on for now. And if you feel like you can expand beyond that, let me know. And that gives them that permission to go at their own speed, their permission to kind of titrate the amount of that trauma that they're processing. And again, these emotions are painful, deep, oftentimes hidden. So in the process of creating their art, whether again, it be painting, sculpture, drawing, or a dance, or some sort of creative arts expression, they might find something that they didn't realize was there, or that they had been hiding, or that they had, pushed far away in the back of their brains. And in doing that movement or in doing that stroke with the brush, it's like, oh crap, I've rediscovered this thing that I have pushed away for so long. So art gives you that space and that permission. Next slide, please. So creative arts expression and trauma-informed care, how do we kind of bring them together? And y'all already said a lot of this in the chat, so gracias for that. Recognize difficulty in dealing with trauma and its symptoms. So again, client can go at their own pace. I know many of us, when I worked at one of the urban Indian organizations that I worked with, because of the way billing works, it was like you get X amount of sessions to do trauma-informed treatment with them. It's like the world doesn't really work that way, but unfortunately, our insurance and billing systems do. So I technically had 5 sessions to do their trauma narrative when doing trauma-focused CBT. We know that that is not culturally responsive, nor is that clinically sound to do it in a specific amount of time. So you had to be creative, and y'all know how to be creative with billing. So, but when doing creative arts expression, it's important that we recognize, let them go at their pace. And again, push them appropriately in their comfort and discomfort, while always making sure that they feel safe. It is client-focused and centered. They're the ones that are creating. Even if you're there and guiding and providing the materials or the prompts, it's still their choice and their voice, their understanding of what they're going to create. The idea of you must do blank treatment that a lot of us who are providers have to do because of insurance or because of grants. Creative arts expression helps us kind of get out of that. And again, with the creative ways of billing, we're doing a lot of the interventions that a lot of our evidence-based practices that we're required to do per insurance or per grant have us do, right? When we're doing creative arts, we are incorporating coping skills, we're incorporating relaxation skills, we're incorporating rapport building. All of those things are there. Do we have to say that we're doing art? Not necessarily, but you can utilize these interventions because they do a lot of the things that our insurance companies and our grantors, our funders want us to do. We're just doing it in a different way, a creative way. And the creation of art is collaborative. It's back and forth. So when they get to a point where they're wanting for you to see it, check it, to give them praise or reflections on their art, that's part of their reintegration too, is I'm finally feeling trust with another person or people to share these things with that I have hidden away for possibly a very long time. So this art is a way for them to kind of let that out of themselves, and then them asking for your thoughts or ideas regarding their art is a way for them to share about their experiences without necessarily going straight into like my trauma is, right? So oftentimes it's like, what happened to you? Tell me what happened. Give me all the details of your trauma. And that's also not culturally responsive or clinically sound. But the art, again, they go at their own pace. And then as they feel ready to express more verbally, vocally, then they're able to do that through the art as the intermediary between their provider and themselves. Next slide, please. So one of the ways of doing art is material goods or visual arts. Many of us engage in beading, basketry, weaving, pottery. As I mentioned before, just the having to be in that space with the materials to create, regulating your breath, touching whatever it is that you're working with, reintegrating the person with their body is a part of that healing. So even if they don't talk at all about X trauma or X experience, but they are sitting at the potter's wheel and creating, just that experience of reading, regulating, and touching is part of that healing process. And that rhythmic and repetitive motion. I don't know for y'all when you're engaging in these kinds of arts, but when I get really into it, like there's nothing else around me. I might even be listening to like a podcast or music, and that just kind of floats away, and I'm just looking at the beads or just looking at the pine needles and creating whatever it is that is being created. And I like snap out of it because my mom like shakes me or my cat jumps on me. And I thought like 5 minutes have gone by, but it's been an hour. So that lost time in a regulated, relaxed space, right? So I wasn't like dissociated and like and fight, flight, or freeze. I was relaxed. So just kind of going from that 24-hour flashback, fight, flight, freeze to, hey, I'm able to relax. And I did it for an hour and it felt like a shorter amount of time is part of, again, that healing process. Next slide, please. Creative movement. As I said earlier, I do not paint or draw or any of those. I mean, I do. I'm just not the best at it, which is totally fine. But movement, I can move. I can dance. I can do flip-flops. Wait, that's not a thing. What is it called? Cartwheels. All of the things that involve movement. And what I love about creative movement and embodied art is that it shows that we are the medium for the expression. We are the medium for the art. So whereas the material goods, visual arts is I'm creating something that is on something else, and then I'm showing it. When we do creative movement, such as dance, such as embodied art, I am the art. We are the art. So it allows us to express ourselves using our body. And as Amy Cuddy stated, exhibiting certain body poses and postures can cause hormonal changes that configure the brain to feel more assertive and comfortable versus shut down. And we are going to try that right now with the next slide. Thank you. So Amy Cuddy has I think it's a TED Talk, some sort of a talk that she did maybe 10 years ago on what she calls power poses, and talks about how when we do these power poses, it kind of, what do the Gen Zers say? Life hack. It like hacks our brain into thinking that we're actually feeling better than we might be in the moment. Because if we sit or stand in a certain way, our brain's like, hey, this person is standing up straight, has their hands behind their head, chest out. When that happens, that usually means that we're feeling proud or we're feeling happy or we're feeling confident. So it sends signals to the brain to change that way that we're feeling. So if I'm feeling depressed and I'm here, not wanting to show the world anything, but then you can't see it, but I have my arms to my side. But then I change into a power pose. Within a minute-ish, our bodies are like, hey, we need to shift how we're feeling because the body is doing this movement. So just a few seconds, I encourage you, you don't have to do one of these power poses, but sit or stand in a way that exemplifies confidence for you. And if you're shy, you're welcome to turn your camera off if you're on camera. But I'm going to do the one for the guy in the blue who's doing this. Just going to hold this for a bit. As I'm sitting here, I'm starting to feel a bit chill. I'm feeling confident, feeling relaxed, which I might not have been feeling earlier. All right, experiment over. You're welcome to stay in your power pose if you desire. It does feel good to be in a power pose. So again, little life hack, feel free to utilize it whenever you do. My standing one is with my hands to the side, looking to the side, kind of like a Superman pose. So if you ever see me in public and I just like randomly get in that pose, I'm just trying to get into like a better state of mind. Don't mind me. And it works. It works. I use it, maybe not often, but quasi often. Oh, Hannah, your lower back cracked. Yay. I hope it was that good kind of crack where it's like, whoo, it feels good. Yeah. Okay, sweet. See, so physical health, interacting with creative arts expression. Next slide, please. So there's a specific kind of embodied art known as theater of the oppressed. I'm curious if anyone in here has heard of or used theater of the oppressed in their own treatment or personal life or in school. If not, that's cool. If so, then also wonderful. So Theater of the Oppressed was founded back in the 1960s in Brazil. Brazil was going through political upheaval at the time. They had a military dictatorship, and Augusto Boal was a chemist, but also a theater practitioner. And Theater of the Oppressed has been used successfully worldwide to support people in transforming themselves and their communities. In this context, theater of the oppressed, oppressed does not mean quote unquote downtrodden or quote unquote like hopeless, but rather it represents awareness that there is an issue affecting the community and there's a shared responsibility for creating change. So one of the ways that I show, what's the word, what oppression is or is not, according to Theater of the Oppressed, is we might see oppression in the West or the US as this, but then the Theater of the Oppressed sees it as this. Ooh, I love that folks have his book. Get it, Loretta. I have it. I need to find it. When I moved, I lost it. So you just reminded me that I need to go find that book. But Theater of the Oppressed is also can be seen as a rehearsal for real life. You're using theater to help people move from these passive objects of oppression to active agents in creating change in their futures. So I love Theater of the Oppressed because it has that kind of slant to it of like, you are moving to be active agents in change for yourself and your community. Next slide, please. And the inspiration, one of the inspirations for Theater of the Oppressed was Paulo Freire and his book, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, also a book that I need to find that I lost when I was moving. Rejects that Western education's banking model of filling an empty vessel. And we working in Indian country know that folks aren't coming to us as empty vessels, aren't born as empty vessels, but there are things within us that we are built in with, right? So I hold and was born with my ancestors' resilience and strength and beauty. My last name, Domaguin, comes from the Ilocano word dumag, which means to hit. So one of my ancestors back in the day was hitting some Spanish person, and they have brought that into me, which is probably why I like movement. So remembering that our people are coming to us with histories and with beautiful, strong, resilient histories as well. Next slide, please. So Brent Blair, professor at University of Southern California, noted theater is the art form of desire. It is a way for us to, the way I see that is it's a way for us to express what we want, what we might need. And for folks who have experienced oppression, who have experienced trauma, again, we might not have the permission to, especially from dominant society, from the administration, from whoever is above us, who is oppressing us, to express whatever that desire is. So in utilizing theater to express that, again, not necessarily with words, but with movement, it is a form of resistance as well. Next slide, please. So some principles of Theater of the Oppressed. Basic aim of TO is to humanize humanity. We are, again, humans that have histories, that have thoughts, feelings, communities, and Theater of the Oppressed is a way for us to express that both individually and in groups. Every human being is theater. When we do Theater of the Oppressed, even the people who are sitting in the audience are participants in the theater. There is no one who is just observing. We are all a part of the performance when Theater of the Oppressed is occurring. I already kind of said that with the next slide. So actors and spectators, there's a term that they use, spec actor. So everyone is a part, even if we are passive in what we're doing, both in theater and in our lives, we are impacting others around us with our actions or inactions, right? So as a community, it's not just the people who are active, the people who are inactive are having an impact on our community, and thus we have an impact on each other's healing and on each other's humanity. And that last one, the oppressed are those individuals or groups who are socially, culturally, politically, economically, racially, sexually, or in any other way deprived of the right to dialogue or in any way impaired to exercise this right. So if folks fall into any of those categories, then Theater of the Oppressed is a way for them to express their desire, express their understanding, to express, period, because oppression does not allow us to express. Next slide, please. Got a short video for you. This is a workshop that happened in Los Angeles pre-lockdown. And we're going to look at one specific Theater of the Oppressed exercise called the image. So feel free to press play. Thank you. I'll let you know when to stop.
Oftentimes in Theater of the Oppressed, we use our bodies to tell stories or to convey ideas that maybe we aren't using words. So we're going to practice that together in this group right here. Sort of like the difference between oppressed and oppressed, right? We're going to create some statues. So we're going to start with a demonstration from Trevi. Awesome. So you can make lots of different types of statues or images with your body. They can be really big and extreme, like a 10, or they could be really little, like a 1, right? So Trevi, make us about a 2 of surprise. So this is surprise. A level 2, right? So does anybody, Trevi has previously, and I'll check in to make sure you're still good with this. Are you good with people touching you other than your black bar areas or the private areas? Yep, awesome. So Trevi's going to take the image of surprise. And, and anyone who wants to, we're just going to go up one at a time and make one adjustment to her image of surprise to exaggerate it a little bit. And the way that you can make an adjustment, I'm not necessarily going to increase the surprise, I'm just going to show you what that looks like, is you can literally move something, or you can you can mirror something. Right? Does that make sense? So you can either physically mold somebody or show it as a mirror without touching. So go ahead, show us your level 2 surprise. And who can increase this to a level 3? What do we think? Did we raise the dial a little bit here? All right, so what else can we do? Increase the level of surprise. And keep adding, yeah. What we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to start with images of happiness. And the way it will work is that anyone who's willing to be like Trevi was, like willing to let people adjust your body in without touching you in places here or here, right, will come and make up to half the group, because we can't do it with more than half the group. So the way this is going to work is the people on the inside, go ahead and make your level 1 or level 2 happiness. And freeze. The people on the outside, go ahead and make one adjustment to your partner to increase the level of happiness. Just one adjustment. Go ahead. People in the outside circle, move 5 people to your right and make a new adjustment to the new person. And go ahead and walk around. And when I say pause, stop in front of whoever you're in front of and make a final adjustment to the most exaggerated statue of happiness you can imagine. So walking, 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 pause. Go make an adjustment to the statue you're in front of. And all of the images of happiness, go ahead and keeping your image as carefully as you can, turn to face the inside so you can see all the different statues. Turn into the circle. And give yourselves a round of applause.
All right.
So the way this is going to work.
Thank you so much. So again, that was an example, and also something that you could kind of take with you, right? Pretty simple, don't really need any materials. If you're in group or like facilitating a group, you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do today. You could do this, the images, and it was individual, right? Like the folks had to come up with like, what is my surprise image at level 1? What is my happy image at level 1? And then collaboratively, we worked together to up that from that 1 into a 10. So we worked together in creating a level 10 happiness. And it might not be seen that way when we're in the middle of the exercise, but we're literally going from a level 1 happiness, if at all, right, to as a group growing all the way to this happiness. I've worked a lot with teens that have been in child protective services and have like no desire to be in treatment, are often seen as quote unquote oppositional. And for some reason, I was always, they were always on my caseload and continue to be. And I was doing a group with a bunch of them and they're like, this is stupid. What the hell are we doing? Why are we, in this group? And we did one of these exercises where we started at the 1 and then built up to the 10. And by the end, everyone was laughing on the floor, snot coming out of their nose because they were laughing so hard. And they were able to get to a point where they felt that happiness, and we felt that happiness together as a group. So the power I feel of Theater of the Oppressed. Next slide, please.
Make an image, they will. And as soon as you notice that someone is...
Thank you. Julie, I just really wanted to show you that last image. So if you are unfamiliar with Theater of the Oppressed or are familiar and would like some resources, feel free to screenshot this, or I guess this recording will also go out. But both of these are available on the internet. I know USAID is no longer in existence, but if you do type in Drama for Conflict Transformation Toolkit, it is on the IREX's website. So that has a variety of different exercises that are embodied art. Many are shared with Theater of the Oppressed. And a lot of these were used in Central Asia during times of civil war and conflict post breaking up of the Soviet Union. And many of the folks, the indigenous folks, Turkic folks of those areas that were oppressed by the Russian majority. So a lot of the exercises I've used from that toolkit have also been ones that I've learned at Theater of the Oppressed workshops and use at Theater of the Oppressed workshops. And then this other one from UMass Amherst, Theater of the Oppressed Manual for Educators, also has a list of different exercises and how-tos, like times and best practices and that kind of thing. So feel free to utilize those. And if there's a TO group in your area, feel free to check it out, join it. Always fun to be around. Next slide, please. Little plug, there is an organization called The Window Between Worlds based here on unceded Gabrielino territory in Venice, California. They were founded by a survivor of sexual abuse and continue to work with folks who are survivors. They have expanded to work with veterans with combat trauma, folks with substance use disorder, youth who have experiences of abuse, basically anyone. And A Window Between Worlds has international involvement. They have a library of different creative arts projects, not just embodied art. They have a whole bunch of ones that are sculpture and painting and all of those kinds of things. But the main focus there is that it is trauma informed and healing centered. And they're just the greatest people. So feel free to check them out, awbw.org. I am a facilitator with them and have been since I worked at my urban Indian organization, United American Indian Involvement. And I continue to utilize their resources because they're just great. Next slide, please. Any questions, comments, concerns, wonders, desires, movements that you want to share?
And feel free to drop your question in the chat or come off of mute. I just want to make a comment, Daniel. Thank you so much for such a great presentation and sharing your work. I found myself, while watching the exercise on happiness, I had a big smile on my face and I noticed how my mood lifted. So even just watching that exercise was really uplifting.
Awesome. Glad that happiness was brought.
Yeah.
Other thoughts?
I guess I'm curious too, how many folks in the audience are using therapeutic art in their programming? Drop an emoji if you are, maybe a heart emoji. And then if it's something that you hope to incorporate, please drop a happy face emoji. Lots of thumbs up. All right, well, if there are no questions right now, we'll continue with our slides. Next slide, please.
So thank you so much for allowing me to be in your space for the last 45 minutes. Feel free to email myself or any of my teammates if there are any questions about this presentation, what we offer about Sakui, about what to do in California in the autumn, whatever, feel free to email us. Those are our email addresses, and thank you so much.
Great. Next slide, please. Awesome. And as we just continue with our programming today, if you do have a few minutes to take a screenshot of our survey, we'll also put the link in the chat. This helps inform future programming here at NCUE. So we would greatly appreciate that. Give everyone a few seconds if they want to take a photo. Great. And next slide, please. At NCUE, we also offer one-on-one technical assistance. We have a link to the form right here, and we're able to offer support on a lot of different areas, community and staff training, research and evaluation, grant application review, partnership development, peer-to-peer connections. So feel free to visit us for our technical assistance training. And next slide, please. Just to share some upcoming events, which this page is being updated quite often. We do have an event coming up November 12th. It's going to be a webinar on strengthening vaccine confidence in Native communities. You can visit our event webpage to sign up for that. And also, we have begun planning for our NCUE annual conference, which will be held in Washington, D.C. The dates for that are April 27th, which will kick off with our Board of Director training, April 28th and 9th, conference programming, and April 30th will be Hill Day for UIOs. And next slide, please. Something else that we are offering right now, an opportunity to be part of Native Health Protection Network. You can take a picture of this QR code to sign up, but we will be sharing information about latest information and practices in immunization. So you can scan to join and stay updated on vaccine information. Next slide, please. For those of you who don't receive our newsletter, please feel free to sign up. It's ncue.org/subscribe.